We're starting off today with, I think, what's really the most talked about topic in town right now, and that is who's going to be the new coach at LSU. And we're not going to find that out for another month and a half, but speculation's running rampant, and it's time to dive into it. So we're going to go ahead and give you our top three individually, starting at number 3, going up to number 1. So this is in order. We'll finish with the one we want the most, and then we'll give you somebody that if it were hired, we'd be a little bit disappointed in that as well. So these are realistic candidates we think that are potentially in play that we will rank from 3 to 1. So we'll start at the bottom of our list with number 3, Jeremy Hill. I will toss it to you. Who is number 3 on your list?
3 on my magical wish list. This is a wish list. I'm not saying this is who we're going after. This is my wish list.
Personal wish list.
Personal wish list. Number 3. I'm going Lincoln Riley right now.
Lincoln Riley. Gotcha. Why?
I think he's one of the best offensive minds in this country. I'm not sure as far as how well he would do recruiting this area, and could he lock down the state and really keep Nick and Jimbo from plucking players away from the state on a year in and year out basis. But when you talk about quarterback whisperers and guys who can get quarterbacks going, what a guy to have. And he sure knows how to spread it around. And you see just what's happened with his quarterback controversy. You would think that would be going on right now. He had the guts as a head coach to make that decision to move on from the guy who was a Heisman finalist and preseason All-American and on top of everyone's draft board. And those are the tough decisions that you want your head coach to make. So for me, I would love to see Lincoln out here. They're drawing up plays, going against Nick and doing the things he can do on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the biggest task would be really trying to find a defensive staff and maybe keep Corey Raymond around. That wouldn't be a bad idea. But I think I'm going Lincoln for 3 for me.
Yeah, the defense has been an issue for him. Do you think that's something he could get cleaned up here?
Yeah, he would have to. I think obviously the athletes you would have in the SEC to recruit year in and year out, especially just from your state, I think you would hope to see a Lincoln Riley head coach football team be able to play a little better defense. I think if he could, find a way to get that done, probably get a great defensive mind as coordinator, I think he could score a ton of points and really be tough to deal with in this conference.
All right, that's your number 3, respectable Lincoln Riley. I will start with number 3 on my list. Number 3 on my list is Billy Napier. I know a lot was made on this station over the weekend about Billy Napier, understandably. I made a couple of phone calls. I know some people in Lafayette, people close to that program, made some phone calls about Billy Napier earlier this week. And these are not Homer, Louisiana Lafayette people. These are not anti-LSU people, pro-LSU people. These are just some people that are around and pay attention. Absolutely glowing reports on Billy Napier. Billy Napier is 42 years old. I think that is perfect. That's a great age right there. You're not so young that you're, immature and flying by the seat of your pants in this kind of pressure cooker, and not so old that you're on the back end of your career. He's right in the middle of this thing. He has had the top recruiting class in the Sun Belt the last 3 seasons. And when you look at his roster, he has done a magnificent job of recruiting the state of Louisiana. You see a ton from Acadiana, a lot from the New Orleans area. He does an excellent job in North Louisiana. If you remember, when LSU was said to have a Monroe, North Louisiana, Shreveport problem, they also had a Billy Napier problem when he was at Alabama. Hootie Jones, Cam Robinson, Cam Sims, who played in the NFL. Those were 4- and 5-star guys from Monroe. Billy Napier was on all of them. I'm told that he approached someone in Lafayette when he got the job, and he said, maybe not this first class, but look in my first, this is before it even happened, look at my first full recruiting cycle and look at the schools that these kids come from. You see a lot of the pipelines of Louisiana high school football to college. Now, he's obviously not going to get the 5-star kids at ULL, but he did that at Alabama and did it exceptionally well. He recruited very, very well. He's called plays at Clemson and at Arizona State, and he's calling plays at Louisiana Lafayette right now. They're scoring a lot of points. He's got a system that is his. That's something that's going to be something that is pervasive throughout my entire list is, do you have something that is the pillar of your program? Because I think that, Ed Orgeron had some great success early in his career, but the fact of the matter is that when you have a great coordinator and they leave, Joe Brady does a good job, he's gone. Jay Veranda does a really good job, he leaves, they move up. Then you've got to refill it. If they do a bad job, then you got to fire them. And there's not a backbone and a system that never leaves. that's going to be the case with a lot of the names that I mentioned here. And I think the case here with Billy Napier, he is an offensive guy who's got an offensive system. He's been with the big boys at Alabama and Clemson, and he's recruited Louisiana exceptionally well. I hear there's absolutely no BS. He's laser focused. He's a great guy. He's great in the community. He treats people exceptionally well. I realize it's not the Scott Woodward MO hire, and I realize that he's never coached at the head level at a Power 5. Those are negatives. There's a reason he's not number 1 on my list, but he is third, and the more I hear about him, the more I like. So that's number 3 on my list. We'll move to number 2 on yours.
All right, number 2 on my list, and this number 2 is going to make a ton of sense for anyone who's watched our defense over the past 2 seasons, and that's Mel Tucker. I think if you look at his coaching tree, you look from where he started and just his career as a head coach and as an assistant coach, he's only 49 years old. He's been with the best of them, from Nick at the beginning to coaching in the NFL to going back to the college level. And to me, what really put him over the top in my eyes as a college coach, to really have that transition from year 1 to year 2 with that Michigan State program and really just pounding that transfer portal and really creating a whole transfer portal staff in that program to find guys. And I think he got over 25 guys in the transfer portal. And you see he's getting bang for his buck this season, and those guys are hyper competitive. And I think he has ties to the state. He knows the area. I'm hearing he loves Baton Rouge. So I think he would do great for this program. And I think he's got to kind of fall into that same category that Lincoln Riley fell into. And this offense has had a ton of issues this season. You're going to have to find an offensive staff that you can really trust and give the reins to and let someone go over there and really draw it up. But as for the defensive side of the ball, I think he would give this defense a huge lift and really bring in those recruiting classes year in and year out. So Mel Tucker for me is number 2.
Mel Tucker is an interesting one. My concern there is the overall record. Hasn't necessarily built a winner. He hadn't had time. He's been at Colorado at a very brief time. Record wasn't very good because Colorado's program was in shambles. He comes to Michigan State. Yeah, at a certain point, D'Antonio had that thing humming. They got in the playoff. I mean, he had a really good thing going. It fell apart at the end, and Mel Tucker inherited a roster that was bad, and then he had COVID on top of it. So certainly can't hold what goes on in year 1 there totally against him, and we'll see what he does the next couple of weeks here. Just not a proven winner. I do like the fact that he's called plays and has a defensive system. It didn't go very well with the Bears. With Georgia, he had a pretty good defense, and this Michigan State defense is playing pretty well. And the age I really like, and the fact that he's been in this part of the country and seen it done. The rave reviews you get about Tucker are the organization and kind of running the program, structurally. So I don't hate it. Mel Tucker, number 2 on your list. Number 2 on my list is Lincoln Riley. And a lot of people say, well, why would he leave Oklahoma to come to LSU? I don't know that he would. I certainly don't know. I think Scott Woodward needs to make the phone call. I think that LSU is a better job than Oklahoma, especially with Oklahoma coming to the SEC. And we don't know what SEC schedules look like. If you're at Oklahoma, and you just got to beat Texas, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and that's your ticket to the playoff, that's a better position than at LSU, where you got to go play Alabama and Auburn and Florida and A&M and then probably go get Georgia and Atlanta. Yeah, that's all tougher. That all goes out the window when we, 1, combine this conference, and 2, expand the playoff. When you expand the playoff and you combine into the conference, all you're now where can I build the best team? LSU, you can build a better team than at Oklahoma. The recruiting advantages are there. The budget's there. And so as far as Lincoln Riley goes, he's 38 years old, which he's run this program enough. He knows how to run the organization. He's been in control there at Oklahoma. He's 53-8 at Oklahoma, 35-5 in the Big 12. I realize this year's been a little bit sloppy. I get you. I'm totally on board there. But look, he's won the conference all 4 years. There's something to be said for that. How about this? He makes Baker Mayfield into a Heisman Trophy winner, helps make Kyler Murray into a Heisman Trophy winner. Then Spencer Rattler, number 1 pro-style quarterback in the country, number 11 overall player in the country, a 5-star, gets him to sign from out of state. Caleb Williams, number 2 quarterback in the country, top 10 player in the nation from out of state. He gets him. Clearly, this guy knows how to go out, find quarterbacks, and get them to campus. He's doing that. And that's huge. If you can do that here at LSU, we'll surround you with the defensive linemen. We'll find a couple running backs. We got some 5-star receivers. DBU, you can build around that, and Lincoln Riley has consistently brought them through the turnstiles. And even if Rattler doesn't turn out to be great and ends up transferring out, well, Caleb Williams looks like he's doing a pretty good job through a couple of weeks, notwithstanding the first half against Kansas where they didn't score. But look, I love the fact that he's got a system. He recruits quarterbacks. He's done a good job at recruiting. Oklahoma's classes, I looked back at them, are anywhere between 6 and 12 nationally with him running the show as the head coach. Figure at LSU with a couple more advantages. That's a guy who absolutely can sign top 5 classes. I get the defense. It's been a big issue. I get the big games. They've gone up on the big stage, and they hadn't been able to stop anybody. I got you. We'll give you $1.8 million. Go find a defensive coordinator, and we'll stock the shelves with 5 stars. I think that's fixable if he can find a way to identify the coordinator he needs and come on down here and make it work. So for me, Lincoln Riley is number 2 on my list.
I guess it's no spoiler for anyone for my number 1. I kind of gave it away last week, but none other than the popcorn man himself, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin has to be number 1. I know some people, it's going to rub people the wrong way. People are going to, have their, feelings towards Lane. But to me, I think just watching his maturation as a head coach from early on to the adjustment that he's made in recent history, I'm loving everything that I'm seeing from him. And obviously Tigers fans got a close view of that last weekend and really watching him dial up plays with the quarterback really on one wheel and being able to just make it look easy.
Yeah.
It just looked like they could really, at any moment, at any point, he was going to draw something up. There was going to be something schemed up, some misdirection, some guy running down the field wide open. And that's just how he makes his offensive run. And you mix that in with the tempo, and it's just who he is as an offensive mind. I'm loving everything I see from Lane. Obviously, he can recruit the SEC. The talent that he has at Ole Miss is not going to be anything remotely close to the guys that he can get at LSU. It's going to be the most resources he's probably had as a head coach. It's kind of be good we be with these other coaches too. How do they fill out this staff? Can you get a guy to really back these Lane offenses up and get some stops? Because if you do, I think he can compete with the best of them. You saw what he's doing with this Ole Miss program, with the 3- and 4-star prospects they have being top 10 and really being a loss away from really doing some dangerous things this season. I think Lane for me, man, is number 1.
I should add the other thing. The downside with Lincoln Riley that I would bring up is if he got it rolling and won the league and got in the playoff and maybe won a national championship, you'd be dealing with NFL stuff all the time with him. That's a little bit of a downside on him. But let's move on to my number 1 as well. Look, I think this show, we're a Bengals show. We're a Lane Kiffin show at this point. He's number 1 on my list. He's 46 years old. He's got that expertise on one side of the ball. He automatically fixes the offense when he shows up from day one. You're going to score points. You just are. Now, he inherited a hell of a quarterback in Oxford. But they scored a bunch of points at FAU too. They came to Tuscaloosa and scored a ton of points. What went wrong for him? I mean, look, his last year, his 7-6 year at USC, the year before he got fired, that was Matt Barkley's senior year. They had Marquise Lee, Robert Woods. They got off to a pretty good start and lost 5 of their last 6, including that disastrous Sun Bowl where he was in the hoodie with the sunglasses on. It was cold. He just looked miserable. It didn't go well at USC at the end. 7-6 and 3-2. They were 10-8 his last 18 games. Florida Atlantic, he shows up, goes 11-3 and wins the league. 5-7 his second year, then 10-3 his third year there. And then you've seen what he's done at Ole Miss. And I think obviously, like you said, the talent level would be greater here. He'd have every opportunity to win. And I think there's a lot of people that say, well, this guy's a job hopper. He moves here and here and here and here. And he leaves Tennessee and goes to USC. And then he goes to FAU and leaves after 2 years. And, okay, that's the same stuff we heard about Nick Saban when he took the Alabama job. And I'm not comparing Lane Kiffin and his success to Nick Saban. That's ridiculous and doesn't matter at all. What I'm telling you is you climb the coaching profession until you reach the top, and then you don't leave there. And LSU is the top, just like Alabama is the top, and Ohio State is the top, and Georgia is the top, and Texas is the top, and Florida is the top. Once you get there, that's where you don't leave anymore unless it's home, unless you've got an alma mater to go to, and that's the only thing. Saban wasn't going to leave LSU for another college job, just like he was never going to leave Alabama for Texas. Once you get to the top, you stop. LSU's the top. Ole Miss is not the top. So he's not a job hopper. He's just climbing until you reach the spot where you're comfortable and you realize that they pay you really well and you can win. And they're committed to doing everything. Wisconsin, not the top. That's why Brett Bielema wins a Rose Bowl and then goes to Arkansas because they'll pay the staff more. So that's I would cut that job hopping thing. Mel Tucker's the same way. He's moving here and here. No, you move until you get the job, and this would be the job. So I don't worry about that. But yeah, I'm with you. Lane Kiffin is my number one. So I've got Napier at 3, Riley at 2, Kiffin at 1. You've got at number 3.
Lincoln Riley. I got Mel Tucker at 2, and I got Lane Kiffin at 1.
Give me a hire that if they made, you would go, that ain't it.
I'm actually going with a guy on your list. I'm gonna go Napier. I just think for 2 reasons. Really, if they did make that decision, do I think he'd do a terrible job as the head coach and he couldn't run the program and it just looked terrible? No, I'm not saying that. I'm thinking for this program and where recruiting is, we got to go a little bigger right now, and I think that's just Woodward's style. I think he's going to go after someone with a bigger resume, someone that he's got to dump $8-9 million into. Yeah, I just wouldn't think they go Napier at this point.
My guy that would disappoint me greatly, and this is not even a guy that I think is maybe on the list, but just feels like a Woodward hire and I would like to stay away from, is Bob Stoops. I have no interest in going to get a guy who's been out of coaching 5 years, who's 61 years old. That, to me, not the way I would like to go. So that's just a name that I'll throw out there. So that's our list. We'll look forward to yours here in the Bayou Ford chat there on the YouTube channel. Jump in there, tell us how smart we are, how dumb we are, and give us your thoughts on who you would like to see as LSU's next head coach.